In Lesson 2-3, you'll be revisiting the concept of subtracting integers. My guess is that you've had some experience with subtracting integers in the past. You just need a little bit of refresher, especially when you're subtracting negative numbers. So what you'll learn is how to subtract integers and find the distance on a number line. We've talked about a couple of different strategies when working with integer operations. Remember that the essential question for Chapter 2 is what happens when you add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers. So far we've talked about adding integers, and now we're talking about subtracting. You can use the tool of memorizing a rule. To subtract an integer, you add its additive inverse. And so I know that some teachers teach it keep, change, switch, or keep, change, flip. I don't remember rules as well as I like. I like to use different strategies, but keep, change, flip, I believe, is what teachers like to use. So they change the subtraction sign to a positive sign, and then they make the other number negative. So 2 minus 7 is the same thing as 2 plus a negative 7. Again, that's the rule on subtracting integers. You can use a number line to show that if you start at 0 and you go to a positive 4, and then you take away 9, you end up at negative 5 on the number line. So for example 1 here, we're talking about the difference between two integers, in this case 6 minus 15. I like to think of it as I have $6, but then I borrow 15 from my parents, and so I still owe them $9. In B, I owe my friend $7, and then I borrow another $8 from another friend, and so altogether I owe $15, so negative 15. For 1A at the bottom, you can record these on your note sheet. 4 take away 15, you only have $4, but you spend 15, so you're going to be in the hole, negative $11. Okay. For 1B, if you were already negative $3 and then you spent another 12, you're going to end up being at negative 15. Make sure you get those recorded, and if you need to write a number line on your note sheet, that's fine. We're going to get some more practice on subtracting integers in this lesson. For example 2 at the top of page 64, remember you have these videos that you can watch, the tutor videos that you can find online. If you need any help accessing those, let me know and I can show you. This is where it gets a little bit confusing because students see those two negative signs and they think, okay, I'm going to subtract them and then just attach a negative sign on it. And I see answers like negative 7 for example 2A, and that's not the right answer. What we have here are two negatives, and what that turns into is 9 plus 2, and you get an answer of 11. Same thing on B. 3 take away a negative 5 is 3 plus 5, which is 8. And I would like to show you on a number line how that does work out. It's not some made-up rule that two negatives turn into a positive. It's because if you started at 9 on the number line, so here's the number 9, just to give you a reference here, this will be 0. Okay, so let's pretend like this is a football field and you are standing on the 9-yard line. So you're standing right here. Okay, that's a positive 9. If you take away, are you going to look to your left or to your right? Well, when you take away, you're going smaller, so you're going to turn to your facing towards the left here, and that takes care of this negative sign. And then negative 2, are you going to walk forward or backward for negative 2? Well, you're going to walk backwards 2 spaces, and if you walk backwards 2 spaces from number 9, you get at a positive 11. Now that might have been as clear as mud showing you that, but I'll show you again on number 2B. Okay, so you're standing on a number line. Here's the 0, here's the number 3, so that's where I get standing at number 3 right here. Okay, that's where I'm at. And when I subtract, when I take away, I'm looking at these numbers to my left here because those numbers are smaller, and that's what we do when we take away, we get smaller. However, when I turn that way, I'm going to subtract negative 5. Well, negative 5, I'm not going to walk forward 5. I'm going to step backwards 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what I end up at is a positive 8. Okay? We'll do some more of those together, but that's just one more way to visualize what happens when you're subtracting integers. For 2a, 18 take away a negative 2 would be 18 plus 2, which is 20. And 2b, we have two negatives here, so we have negative 5 plus 11, so that will end up at positive 6. Make sure to get those recorded on your note sheet. And now we're going to jump down to example 3, where now we're involving the absolute value. So in 3, we have the distance between each pair of integers. So what's the difference between negative 30 and negative 22 on the number line? That's just going to be 8 steps. Okay, so if I can picture a number line, here's negative 30, and here's negative 22, and the distance between those is 8 spaces. Okay, and on number 3b, we have negative 6 on our number line, and we have a positive 5. So not only do we need to get from negative 6 to 0, but we also need to get from 0 to 5. So that's a total of 6 units and 5 units for a total of 11 units. Okay, just a different type of way of ordering or saying those problems with integers. Now moving along to example 4 on page 65, we have some story problems that we're going to translate into numerical expressions. In number 4, we have a gopher that is digging 7 inches below the ground. Okay, so we're at negative 7, and then we stops digging at 16 inches below the ground. How far did the gopher dig? So we're at negative 6, and we go down, negative 7, and we get down to negative 16. How far are those two numbers apart on the number line? I know it's a vertical number line here versus a horizontal number line, but we're asking the distance between negative 7 and 16, which is a total of 9 units. And so the gopher has dug 9 inches. We're going to look at some more problems for lesson 2-3 on subtracting integers. Make sure that you record on your notebook some common errors made when subtracting integers. We're going to look at page 65, number 18, 19, 21, and 24. For number 18, we have 1 take away a negative 18, so that turns into 1 plus 18, which is 19. For number 19, we have 2 negatives right here, so I can change that to a positive. Negative 15 plus 14 is negative 1. For 21, we have 2 negatives again. We're going to change that to a positive. Negative 20 plus 30 is positive 10. And number 24, we're at negative 47, and then we take away 34 more. We lost 47 yards, and then we lost another 34 yards. That would be a terrible play. But altogether, then, we lost 81 yards. So negative 81 would be your answer. The next one we're going to take a look at is page 66, the HOT problems, number 39. It says, write a subtraction expression with a positive integer and a negative integer whose difference is positive. So here's just one example here. We have a positive integer 4, and we have a negative integer, which is negative 7, and it's said to write a subtraction problem, so there's your subtraction sign. Well, what happens when you have two negatives is that it turns into a positive, and 4 plus 7 is 11, so we have a positive answer. The next one we're going to look at is page 66, problem number 41. It says, true or false, a subtraction expression with a positive integer and a negative will have a difference of 0. If false, give a counterexample. Well, that's false because we have a subtraction expression, which means it's a subtraction problem. Here's a subtraction problem, okay? We have a positive integer and a negative integer. So we have a positive 2 and a negative 2. Well, when you take 2 minus a negative 2, we do not get 0, we get 4. And when we take negative 2 and a positive 2 and subtract those, we get a negative 4. So that is false, and our counterexamples are shown there. Lastly, on page 67, we're going to take a look at 62, 63, 64, and 65. In the metric system, you may recall that everything is based on the number 10, and the prefixes all have values that are exponents of tens. So our base is 3 meters. Centi is the prefix for 100, so 3 meters has 300 centimeters. In the customary measurement, we have all sorts of numbers to memorize, like there are 12 inches in every foot. In this case, then, 8 feet times 12 inches in every foot is equal to 96 inches. For number 64, kilo is the prefix for 1,000. And so sometimes teachers teach metric using a staircase, like kilo, hecto, deca, base, deci, centi, milli. And our base one is the grams, liters, and meters. In this case, 100 grams. And kilograms or kilograms is up here. And if we're going up the staircase 1, 2, 3, we're going to move the decimal place 1, 2, 3 to the left. And so we get 0.1 or 1/10 of a kilogram. For 65 quarts to gallons, there are 4 quarts in every gallon. So if we divide 12 by 4, we get 12 quarts is 3 gallons. Again, practicing your subtraction of integers is just going to take some patience and time and paying attention to details. I still make errors when I subtract integers because I'm not paying attention to details. So hopefully the practice will help you out, and let me know if you need additional help.